Here we are, with my Transformers The Last Night rewrite. Transformers Last Night was bad. I mean, it was fine, but the continuity errors and the multiple storylines make it bad. Now, I am not here to hate on Michael Bay, Paramount Pictures, or the writers for the mistakes they made during production. I am only here to nitpick and give you guys my version of what I wanted this movie to be. Writing, directing, and producing is a hard job, and I am not saying that I can do any better than any of the people that were involved in this project. But Transformers Last Night was coming off of a pretty good movie, which was Transformers Age of Extinction. The fresh cast of characters made the movie great, and it was going to make the next movie great as well, with both casts from 1, 2, and 3, and 4 coming together to defeat the next big bad of the Transformers series. In Transformers Last Night, there is no clear line of who is the big bad. Obviously, we do have Quintessa and we reintroduce Megatron, but then we introduce Unicron, and he is really not in the movie at all. I mean, except his horns, which again brings back the too many storylines, which I'll be taking care of in this rewrite. What I'm going to be doing is taking the many storylines of Transformers Last Night and cutting them down to be more concise and allowing the viewer to see what this movie was originally intended to show. What is that exactly? Transformers The Last Night was supposed to set up who the creator of the Transformers was, and most importantly, to show who the Last Knight is, which, in my version, is not Cade Yeager. Although I thought that storyline was fine, it still brings up the problem that many of the Transformers movies have. It focuses too much on human development, and the reason why we come to see these movies is to watch Transformers deal with the fact that their planet was destroyed, and now they have to fight off against the people that they used to call their friends, and the planet they used to call their home. Don't put the main character's name or what they're known as in the title of a Transformers movie. We're here to watch Transformers, not humans. Now, what is this rewrite going to do? This rewrite's purpose is to show who the Last Knight is and to set up who the creators of the Transformers were. Now, you must be thinking, how are the Knights of the Round Table, Merlin, and Sir Edmund Burton going to fit into this story? Here's the answer: they won't. This rewrite is going to be told in the original 3-act structure. This video serving as Act 1, the next 2 videos serving as Act 2, and then the final one serving as Act 3. And now, without further ado, let's get on to the story. We see Cybertron. I find it a little odd that in the real movie, we don't really focus on Cybertron at all, which they want us to believe that Cybertron is a central point to the story. We see Optimus Prime land on Cybertron. He's in critical condition. We see through his point of view. Much like the Bumblebee movie, it says, memory core, critical failure. Optimus stands up, spins around, gazing at his dead world. Then he finally collapses to the ground as we switch to his point of view again, initializing shutdown. We watch as a figure approaches Prime as his vision becomes cloudy. Optimus Prime is shut down, the title card rolls. This is what you call a hook. If you are writing an essay or writing a story, you will have to have the readers get hooked, or the listeners or the viewers get hooked. Now, Optimus Prime shutting down is a big deal because throughout all these movies, we've watched as Optimus Prime has gone on strong, but now his journey has finally pushed him to his limit, and he can no longer function, and it seems as if someone has captured him. The scene then shifts, and we hear Colonel Lennox speaking. This is the same monologue that Sir Edmund Burton gives at the beginning of the movie, but this time it's Lennox. These are troubled times. Optimus Prime has left us. Some say he will never return. Without leaders, chaos reigns. 2 species at war, 1 flesh, 1 metal. These alien beings keep arriving, endless waves of them, too many to count. We look to the skies with dread and we wonder, how much of our time remains? 100 billion trillion planets in the cosmos, and they choose Earth. Why? We then transition into a scene. Lennox is talking to General Morshower. That whole monologue is actually him reciting the past few weeks of this in-universe storyline. This is a classic trick used by many filmmakers. It makes the audience think that the main character, or any character, is talking to them, but it is actually being recited to another character. Just thought I'd put that in there. The Decepticons are everywhere, General. Most of them are scouts observing multiple horn-like objects scattered across the world. Something is definitely going on here. I agree. Multiple Decepticons have come out of hiding in the past 16 months. The most recent one being Barricade, who was presumed deceased after the Battle of Chicago. Ever since then, he has shown up at multiple locations around the world. Just 24 hours ago, he was spotted in the Badlands, South Dakota. Coincidentally, this is the same location Cade Yeager was last seen, explains General Morshower. This is another retcon. Allowing Barricade to be in the same location as Cade Yeager allows Lennox and his team to go to South Dakota and be in the same place as Cade Yeager and Barricade. Now in the story, Megatron is alive and they can possibly be all in the same location. The only reason why I made this decision is to make the story more concise. Okay, on with the story. With all due respect, General, Cade Yeager is the least of our concern at the moment. We already have our hands tied, argued Lennox as he sighs. All charges against Mr. Yeager were dropped last night, Colonel. I want you to bring him in. With all due respect, General. Why? Because Cade Yeager is the only human on planet who knows where Optimus Prime is, and something tells me we'll need all the help we can get, says General Morshower. The scene then shifts, and we find ourselves in a junkyard. We then focus in on a garage. Music is playing. Cade Yeager is listening to Timber. Now, I know, it's ridiculous, but it will come into the story later, and this is just a small retcon, let's just say it's his favorite song. Who knows? But yeah, bear with me here. It's going down. I'm yelling timber. You better move. You better dance. Let's make a night. We see Cade Yeager working on a piece of machinery on a workbench. He then starts to lose control, having a panic attack. He throws his tool across the garage. As he begins to calm down, he walks over to a car covered by a tarp. Cade pulls the tarp off, revealing a 1969 yellow and black Camaro. Cade knocks on the car's hood. The car begins to transform. It's Bumblebee. Any sign of him? Cade asks trembly. He is obviously speaking of Optimus Prime. B shakes his head and whines. What about the others? Cade says. B shakes his head again. Nothing. This is, of course, another retcon. In the original movie, Hound, Crosshairs, Drift, Bumblebee, and Cade are all together, plus the Dinobots. But in this film, they are split up, making a team. We have Bumblebee and Cade. The other three are out somewhere else, and Optimus is, as far as we know, captured on Cybertron. That makes everyone split up, and it makes the stakes higher. Let's get back to the story. Cade then takes out his phone and scrolls through 730 voicemails left by his daughter. He sighs, looks back at Bumblebee. Bumblebee sticks out his arm and waits for Cade to respond. Cade then taps on B's hand and chuckles. B then transforms back into the Camaro. "Good night, B," whispers Cade as he walks over to a makeshift bed. Cade lies down and gazes at the stars through a small window above him.
He then remembers what Optimus Prime said the last time Cade saw him.
Cade Yeager, I do not know. But whenever you look to the stars, think of one of them as my soul. Defend this family, Autobots, as they have you. Defend all they can be.
"Where are you?" Cade whispers as he slowly drifts to sleep. This scene then shifts, and we find ourselves in the middle of a high-pursuit police chase. Now, this police chase, we're going to have fun with it. It's going to be a mixture of Fast and Furious and Transformers, basically every Michael Bay movie ever. Alright, 3 police cars have their sirens on while speeding to catch up with another police car. This one being a Mustang. It's Barricade. Barricade drifts around the corner while scanning one of the cars chasing him. Barricade then turns back around, revs his engine, and speeds off, losing the other 3 cars that were previously chasing him. Barricade pulls up into an abandoned warehouse, transforms, and walks into it. He is greeted by Galvatron, who is none too pleased with Barricade's reckless behavior. I warned you once before, Barricade, but you disobeyed a direct order, Galvatron shouted. Barricade is dead silent. Galvatron speaks again. I may lack the appearance of my old self, but that does not mean you can question my leadership. My orders! Get out of my sight! Demands Galvatron as he grabs Barricade by the neck and shoves him against the wall. Barricade transforms and speeds off, leaving Galvatron alone. Then we see Galvatron walk out into the night, and we see through his point of view. Galvatron then scans a fighter jet rocketing through the sky. He then analyzes his human manufactured body he is stuck in. He begins to hack into his inner system. He succeeds, initializing conversion, systems rebooting. Galvatron's body starts to transform. His eyes start to turn blood red. Different shapes are appearing in all parts of his body. Then he collapses to the ground. Conversion successful. Megatron slowly stands up and sends a message to his fellow Decepticons. Decepticons, your rightful lord and master has returned, Megatron exclaims as he transforms into a jet and flies off. Note here, Megatron has the same design as the one in The Last Night. Something is very different here. What is it? If you guess that Megatron is actually threatening, then you are right. Throughout all the movies, Megatron is the bad guy, but he is not threatening enough. Obviously, he scares the humans, but that's only the humans' reaction. We need to be scared. We need to see his fellow Decepticons shake in fear because of his voice. That scene right there is a very good example of what I want Megatron to be in this movie, and what I wanted him to be throughout all the other films. Let's get on to the next scene. The scene then shifts and we find ourselves back on Cybertron. Optimus has been captured and is suspended in the air with shackles on his wrists and ankles, much like in the real movie. Then we hear a female voice. Optimus Prime, formerly known as Orion Pax, the last living of all 13 primes. The last night, the voice proclaimed. Optimus looks around, angered by the state of his world. In this single line of dialogue, this single sentence, this female voice answers our first question coming into the movie. Who is the last knight? It is Optimus Prime. This also gives more backstory to Optimus Prime, who was Orion Pax and is the last living of the 13 primes. So yeah, this is our first answer of the film. Optimus Prime is the last knight. My world. What has happened to my world? Says Optimus Prime as he tries to free himself. Your world has died. But don't you forget, Optimus. Millions of inhabitants watched as you turned our planet into a war zone. Megatron started the war, Prime argues. You destroyed your world, you fool! I too watched as your pathetic war split our planet to the core, watched as my creations were turned against my people, and of course, watched as a mere shadow of a prime destroyed our home, screamed the voice. Optimus flinches to the power that her voice conveys. No, it cannot be. Solus Prime? Optimus asked. That name means nothing to me. Solus Prime is dead. The Primes made sure of that. The Creator, the Prime of life. I was responsible for creating every single living being on Cybertron. For centuries our planet was in a state of peace and prosperity. When the war began, the fellow Primes blamed me for it. As a last-ditch effort to end the war, I created you an object of peace that would end the war. Instead, you fought, and you fought, drawing out the war. As a consequence of my reckless actions, the Primes banished me and left me for dead, the voice explains. Optimus is confused. It was my fault. The war was my fault, Optimus stuttered. Precisely. And that is why you are here. I have a task for you, Prime. Quintessa slowly levitates toward Optimus. When we see her get to him, Quintessa slaps Prime across the face, and a red slash appears on the right side of his face, just like in the real movie. Do you seek redemption, Prime? Quintessa asks. My maker, I do, Prime declares as his eyes turn from blue to red, then red to purple. These are the two biggest changes that I'm going to be making in this rewrite. We have established that Optimus Prime, instead of Cade Yeager, is the Last Knight. And who created the Cybertronians is Solus Prime. That might be not how it is in the comics or any of the lore of Transformers, but this is a new take, and this has been going on for almost 10 years, so we can make a difference. And who is our maker? Solus Prime, and she has renamed herself Quintessa. The scene then shifts, and we see Cade Yeager walking in a broken down section of warehouses. He suddenly starts to run. He sees something. We then see an unknown Autobot, struggling to stay alive. Cade comes to the Autobot on the verge of death, and tries to help, but it dies from a fatal wound caused by TRF. This Autobot could be anybody. It could be Cliffjumper. It could be Bulkhead. Add a little more complexity to the story and add in new Autobots. They're first-time Autobots. You never have to worry about them again. Now, this scene is very similar to the one we got in the real movie, so I've decided to just take the clip from the real movie, put it in this rewrite so I don't have to make a voiceover. I will come back when the scene changes, but until then, have fun watching this scene. Note, this scene does not involve Barricade or the Talisman, so when you see those two on screen, ignore them and just enjoy the scene.
He didn't make it, B. Coming out solo. This has turned into one shitty-ass day.
It's a positive match, sir.
It's Cade Yeager.
It's over. Help yourself out here. Where are the others? The ones you're hiding?
I don't sell out friends.
Friends. This is an invasion. One day we wake up, they're in charge.
You see anybody in charge? They just keep falling out of the sky. Something's coming. You can't shoot your way out of it.
Just then, Bumblebee turns the corner of an abandoned warehouse in one swift maneuver. B transforms, knocks out two TRF operatives, and aims his arm cannon at Santos. Cade grabs a handmade pistol, not pointing it at anyone in particular. Now, be smart. Tell your pet to stand down, put down the gun, and surrender. It's that easy, says Santos, pulling a pistol of his own. All they want is a home and you know it. You push them and they push right back, Cade states as Bumblebee points his arm cannon around aimlessly as well. Santos replies, tightening his grip on his pistol. We either bring you in warm or bring you in cold. Cade doesn't respond. Fine, Mr. Yeager. Have it your way. Ready! Aim! Fire!
Bumblebee charges his arm cannon and knocks Santos to the ground. He points it straight at his chest. Lennox rushes out with a squad of soldiers behind him.
Don't do it, B! Hold your fire! Hold it! You! Drop it!
I'm not dropping shit.
Hey, the military doesn't want it this way, B. You gotta believe that!
It's a new world order now, and these guys were calling the shots. Were? Santos asked, disgusted. Lennox puts a hand up. I don't want to hear it. Get your men, load up, and head back to base. They follow Lennox's orders. Cade speaks up. If you're here to take me and B in, we're not going. You are leaving here without us, whether you like it or not. Lennox sighs. Charges were dropped 2 nights ago, Mr. Yeager. We need your help. You were the last one to speak to Optimus Prime before he disappeared. Do you have any idea where he was going? Any clues? We need all the information you could have gathered in that conversation. That was 2 years ago, Lennox. He would have come back by now. I'm sorry, but I can't help you. Cade, I'm not overselling it to say that the fate of the universe is at stake. Someone is coming. Someone far, far more powerful than Megatron, Sentinel, and Lockdown. The future of our planet is blurred, and we need Optimus Prime and the Autobots to save it. That means we also need you. Think about the people you have left. Think about your daughter. That seems to work. Cade motions Bumblebee to follow him. Cade speaks to Lennox again. When do we start? Lennox smiles, satisfied. Follow me. That is the end of Act 1. The next installment will be coming out in a couple weeks, where I'm going to be discussing Act 2. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.